This person says, I am a lifelong follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Does he give his name?
No name.
All right.
Oh, he does give a name. Abdul Levon.
All right, Mr. Abdul Levon. What is he saying?
I'm a lifelong follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I don't believe you have debated anyone who understands this subject. He says, I do. I can be reached at, and he gives his telephone number. Would you like to settle this topic, he says.
Let me tell you this, Brother Abdul. It's already settled with us.
Right.
I done debated the Nation of Islam on 3 occasions. There's no need for me to keep going around the circles. I don't have that kind of time to waste.
Right.
It's not in the Quran that God came from darkness. It's not in the Bible that God came from darkness. No. I do know where in the Quran where that teaching came from or where the misleading came from. In the Quran, it says, Allah created you in the womb of your mothers in 3 veils of darkness, right, which is where the term triple darkness come from. The Quran never said that God came from darkness. It says that the people of the earth came from the darkness of the womb of their mother. Right. Even in the Bible, it says God created the light and he said, I made the darkness. Right. Listen, if God created himself, look at what you're saying. The creature is not here before the creator. No. So if God actually did create it himself, wouldn't he have to be here to do it?
That's right. Right.
Look at what you're saying.
Right.
If God created himself, he would have to already be here.
Right.
To do that.
Error and darkness.
Right. Listen at this.
In the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 11 and verse 16.
You tell me you understand it. You're a student just like the other ones were.
Right.
And you don't have no more truth about the subject than they did.
That's right.
Listen.
In the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 11 and verse 16.
What is it?
Error and darkness.
And darkness.
Had their beginning together with sinners.
Wait a minute. What?
Error and darkness.
And darkness.
Had their beginning.
Had their beginning.
Together.
With
sinners.
With what?
With sinners.
With sinners?
With sinners.
Error and darkness come from the sinner.
Yep. Right.
What do you mean the sinner? The behavior of his ways. John said about God, there is no darkness in him at all. So no, God didn't come from darkness.
No.
I did. And you did.
That's right.
And everybody in here did.
That's right.
We came from darkness.
Amen.
We came from the darkness of the womb of our mother. Let me straighten you out and make it plain. When God made man, he made man in his image. God shaped, God formed. That's what Adam was. Right. Adam was made in the image of God. See, man consists of heaven and earth.
That's right.
Glory to God.
That's right.
Man consists of heaven and earth. He made man from the ingredients of the earth. That's right. From the dust of the ground. But then heaven came into man. God breathed into him the breath of life, which was the Spirit of God, which is the spirit that resides in man. That's heaven.
That's right.
But man's flesh come from earth. Now the flesh that God made was full of darkness.
That's right.
Because it was ignorant of the knowledge of God and the way of God. When a woman carry a child, there's darkness and light in her.
That's right.
I know you think of the scripture that says, God says, I will dwell in the thick darkness. That's true.
That's true.
God said he would dwell in the thick darkness. But that don't mean I came from the darkness.
No.
You see, when God dwelled in the thick darkness, that means he come in man.
That's it. Right.
You see, God dwells in our thick darkness.
That's right.
Many preachers teach that God start dealing with you when you come to the light.
No.
God start dealing with you when you're in darkness.
That's right.
The light comes in darkness, and then gradually bring us from the darkness to the light. You understand, like a child when it's born, the head is the first thing that's exposed to the light. That's right. Because it comes from the womb of the darkness. You see, your head, your mind, thank God, is the first thing that's exposed to the light of God, to the ways of God. After your ears hear it, now your mind can consider it. And now when you think of the things of God, the lessons of God teaches your body how to struggle and come from the womb of the darkness of the world.
That's
right.
It.
Amen.
God ain't never came from darkness.
No.
The God that I serve never strived to overcome darkness.
That's it.
The God that I serve have no beginning,
No beginning.
have no ending, have no rival, have no partners.
That's right.
He's absolute.
That's right.
He's perfect.
Perfect.
He's infallible.
Amen.
He's not begotten.
That's right.
He's higher than heaven, broader than the sea, deeper than hell, and longer than the earth.
That's right.
No, God ain't never came from darkness.
No.
That is not the teaching of true Islam. True Islam teach that God always was,
that's right.
always have been, and always will be. So you tell me you understand it, you don't have no more understand, Brother Abdul, than the other ones I talk to. So please, get a life and don't waste my time. Next letter.